Arthur Schopenhauer was a German philosopher most noted for his dark and profoundly pessimistic worldview. However, his contributions to philosophy have become pivotal in our understanding of the human condition, influencing subsequent thinkers including Ludwig, Wittgenstein, and Sigmund Freud. Through his writings, Schopenhauer attempted to forensically expose and unravel the nature of reality and the raw essence of the human condition. Despite being overtly grounded in pessimism, Schopenhauer's philosophy carries within it the seeds of optimism, illustrating the resilience of the human spirit through our capacity to transcend the limitations of the external world. In part 1 of 2, we will explore the foundation of Schopenhauer's philosophy of pessimism through his famous work, The World as Will and Representation, and discover the capacity for individuals to transcend the inherent suffering in the world through a shift in our perceptions. In part 2, we will explore Schopenhauer's view on world religions, uncovering the shared wisdom that his insights hold with the foundational teachings within Hinduism and Buddhism. We will ultimately come to understand how these perspectives can instigate within us the capacity to transcend the torment of the human condition and the illusion of individuality. Schopenhauer's worldview was rooted in a grim and bleak assessment of human existence. He asserted that life is inherently characterized by conflict, competition, and a perpetual state of dissatisfaction and suffering. There is not much to be got anywhere in the world. It is filled with misery and pain. If a man escapes these, boredom lies in wait for him at every corner. Nay more, it is evil which generally has the upper hand, and folly that makes the most noise. Fate is cruel and mankind pitiable. Schopenhauer's dark perspective of the world not only lies in a surface-level comprehension of the social or economic circumstances of individuals, but primarily emerges from his metaphysical system, explored in his seminal work, The World as Will and Representation, published in 1818. Schopenhauer posited that the totality of the external world is driven by an insatiable, irrational force which motivates the behavior of humanity, animals, and plants. He termed this primal foundational force underlying the physical world the will, or will to live. The will manifests in the external world as the individuated physical objects and entities of our perceptions, and within humanity as the fundamental drive for self-preservation. However, Schopenhauer asserted that the will is aimless and blind, and thus devoid of intrinsic purpose or meaning. It relentlessly strives towards nothing, unable to be fully satisfied yet animating the essence of all of existence. This aimless striving leads to conflicting behavior between organisms, perpetuating a cycle of discord and struggle. The will individuates all things in the universe, creating the perception of separateness and perpetuating our sense of egoism. This perspective of individual self-interest breeds conflict and fear, keeping us firmly under the power of the will. Additionally, Schopenhauer asserted that the objects of our perceptions in the external world are mere representations of true reality, casting an illusory veil over our cognitions. His concept of representation extends beyond the material world to encompass the entirety of our experience, including our internal thoughts, emotions, and abstract concepts, in essence, the totality of our subjective experience. Schopenhauer asserted that it is the human intellect which navigates the will into conscious action and behavior. However, contrary to many earlier philosophers who considered intellect as the primary force of human action, Schopenhauer viewed the intellect as subservient to the will, serving to rationalize and justify its irrational impulses. Consequently, for Schopenhauer, human existence is characterized by an inherent conflict between the relentless, insatiable desires of the will and the limitations of the external world, leading to a pervading sense of futility and dissatisfaction. For Schopenhauer, even pleasure is fleeting and illusory, providing only temporary relief from the pervasive suffering inherent to existence, and serving only to perpetuate the cycle of desire and dissatisfaction. A man is never happy, but spends his whole life in striving after something that he thinks will make him so. He seldom attains his goal, and when he does, it is only to be disappointed. Schopenhauer therefore concluded that it was more optimal for individuals to accept and embrace the inevitability of life's suffering and endeavor to reduce it as far as is possible. He believed this to be a more viable solution than relentlessly pursuing pleasure and perpetuating the cycle of futility. Schopenhauer believed that individual yearning constitutes a form of deprivation. He therefore proposed that by reducing one's desires and attachments to external gain, individuals could attain a state of contentment that could contribute to a more lasting form of inner peace, rather than the transient nature of fleeting pleasures. Schopenhauer also placed significant importance on the role of aesthetic appreciation of the world, as well as artistic expressions and philosophical contemplation as a way for individuals to temporarily transcend the relentless striving of the will. He believed that these moments can bring individuals closer to an awareness of the harmonious unity of existence, which lies beneath the illusory veil of representation and dualism. In these moments of contemplation and appreciation, there is no yearning for personal gain or self-interested calculation. Rather, there exists a pure, present moment awareness of the beauty inherent in the world. Furthermore, Schopenhauer asserted that through self-awareness and philosophical contemplation, the human intellect can transcend the will and act independently of it. This allows individuals to recognize the illusory nature of individual desire and achieve liberation from the relentless yearning of the will, thus transcending the mundane suffering of existence. Unfortunately, however, Schopenhauer maintained that for the average individual, the will was too powerful a force to fully break free from. Our lives are perpetually directed towards concerns around our careers, homes, families, possessions, in essence, our self-preservation. Yet, when we reflect upon this engagement with life, we see that this relentless striving does not in fact emerge from our own conscious decision. Man can do what he wills, but he cannot will what he wills. Schopenhauer's conclusions, therefore, present a fatalistic outlook on the human condition, but nevertheless contain seeds of hope. Through artistic appreciation and philosophical contemplation, we have the capacity to transcend the will and alleviate suffering, while simultaneously experiencing glimpses of the true nature of reality, which lies behind the veil of representation. Perhaps an additionally profound and nuanced solution to the problem of suffering lies in Schopenhauer's moral perspective, which emerges organically from his metaphysical system, both of which bear striking resemblance to the foundational teachings within Hinduism and Buddhism. In part 2, we will explore these similarities along with Schopenhauer's general views on religion and discover how the human capacity for compassion has the potential to expose the illusory world of representation and eliminate the perpetual cycle of suffering.